Whoa.
Right on top. And it begins with a kitzur.
We didn't finish the last two lines.
We did not finish your lines?
Yeah, we were at the last two lines. I don't know.
I apologize. Okay, we'll go back to the next two lines.
I mean, it just needed a conclusion. We went over them. I'm not sure. I mean, you decide if you finished or not. Okay, let's go to the kitzur, whatever.
All right, well, 1 second. Okay, we'll do the last two lines. With Cain, and thus refers to the union that ultimately the calf touches on the bottom in the oil HaSevev, and therefore the oil HaSevev unites with the calf in the oil Pnimi. Oil HaSevev, just to refresh, the all-encompassing divine presence, which is higher than one of the definitions. The truth of the divine presence in our Savior. And this is what is going to be recognized and revealed in the future. Okay. And therefore, because of this, because our Savior is what is going to be is Galus. What is it sounds that we hear? You hear people talking? What is that?
Can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything. Well, I hear voices. Okay.
Angels.
Huh?
Maybe angels.
Oh, angels. Oh. The Yisrael, the superior quality of the Gilui of the Lakus of the Bili Osiv in the future. In what way will that manifest itself? It will be in the fact the Masha HaGuf Yiyeh Lakus. In the fact that the Guf itself, the body will be Lakus. Not nefesh, not the life force, the neshama, but the Guf will be Lakus. This is what presents the Yisroin, the additional greatness that will be Liosid. Why so? What is so great about the Guf being Lakus? As we already learned, and then now the Rebbe gives us a quick representation. Shazel, where this Indian that the Guf is a Lakus occurs, Alidei Gilui Bechinas Makib HaKloli. It comes forth by the effect of the Gilui, of the revelation and full expression of the Makib HaKloli. Makib HaKloli, we already talked about Makib HaKloli. And we spoke about Makib HaKloli. Makib itself is Behelim. And from the Makib comes a kav, a thin line, an expression of the Lakus. That is normally, this is the way the world is. But the Makib stays hidden. And what we have is the kav. But to Osid, there will be Gilu Bechinas Makib HaKloli. Makib HaKloli will come to full expression. The Makib HaKloli coming to expression means that wherever you look, even if you do not identify any particular actions, just the reality itself, the makif, you will see the union of Elokus. You will not see world, you will see Elokus. This is the Gilu Makif Makif. Because there is going to be Gil of the Makif Hakloni. That means that the very physicality of the world, the goof itself, will manifest the truth of its being, that it is Elokus, that it is a divine presence. This requires a profound change in our thinking process. As we already pointed out, our thinking process is normally that there's a world. Then into this world, we bring in understanding of seichel and midas, of divine value. But primarily what you have is a worldly presence. The worldly presence, this is the basis for everything else that you identify in reality. But la'osid, there will be a complete reversal of that. The fundamental reality will be the recognition of the divine presence, not world, which is the soiling. As we already pointed out, the whole idea, the whole concept of existence is a divine concept. There is no worldly basis for existence. Existence is a divine presentation. It is divine, a divine grant that gives the world a presence of being. And this is what we're saying, that the Oyer HaSevi, the Oyer Eleki that is above world, the pure godliness itself. This is what is the source, what provides for the world to be. In other words, I know somebody's talking in the background, and said, in other words, the fact that we recognize, that we feel perfectly comfortable in the presence of the worldly presence, and we take it for granted. Of course, why not? There is the fundamental reality, existence, and world is presenting it in a worldly form. But all that is really a divine creation. It is the truth of the divine truth that permits this kind of worldly presence. And we are actually recognizing it. But in our seichel, because we get to know it by seeing it bottom up from the physical, we tend to identify the physical as the basis of existence, which is a misrepresentation, a misunderstanding. The physical is a creation, a divine creation, except it is revealing a true divine presence. This is why it seems so real. It seems so real to the extent that we can't imagine it not being there. Because it shows itself as a reality. But this reality is a presentation of the divine presence. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shut off my phone for a moment and bring it back on. Because there's this voice that is in the background that is very interfering with everything that I'm doing. Just take a moment. Okay. All right. Again, the bottom of page Kuf Nun Tes, the very last two lines. We go very quickly because we already went through it. Okay. And thus refers to the AYIN that at the end, at the bottom of the Kav connects back to the Oira Sebev. To the Oira Liki that is above world. And there is source, so to speak, the tangible part of the world, the Guf, the Alkei, and thus, therefore, what is the Yisrael? The additional greatness that will be granted to us, La'osid in the future, will be consistent in the fact that the body itself will be a lakus. We will know a lakus, not only via recognizing the neshama, the life, and the spiritual aspects that we identify with. There will be a completely a supreme kind of revelation, divine revelation. In that will be recognized that the body itself, okay, the words in the mind, Haguf Yiyelakus. The goof and the body itself will be Elikus, not it will be understood as being sourced in Elikus, as being created by Elikus. But the goof will represent Elikus.
There will be Elikus.
The goof will be Elikus. Please, we have to, as you said, in these things, we have to think into this and understand what is that mean? How is this, so to speak, work? If the goof is Elikus, the goof to us right now, this is the basis of existence. This is the, so to speak, undeniable presence. The physical presence. Undeniable. It's not only undeniable because we see it, but you cannot be eliminated. This is the basic presence, the basis of existence. And then with our seichel, we understand that this basic existence has a divine quality to it. But basically what we see is goof. This is the the most powerful part of existence to us, most fundamental part of existence. The truth is, however, I know my light is saying it. The truth is, however, that this existence itself, and very phenomenon, the whole idea we said yesterday, the invention of existence, of presence. Who invented existence? Existence doesn't begin with world. Existence doesn't begin with a tangible part of the world. Existence is a divine principle. It's a divine truth. And it is there only when the Rebbe wants to reveal it.
Okay.
And before he reveals it, there is no such thing as existence.
That is correct.
When it's the Eibishter alone, nothing exists.
That's right.
And we don't say about him that he exists.
No, we don't say about him because we already spoke about this. The whole term existence is a worldly level of concept. Elokus doesn't exist. Elokus is the truth itself. Except that we have a difficulty, now that we mentioned it, we have a difficulty conceptualizing the pure truth itself without it being created. To us, in our little mind, the beginning of everything is nothingness. And then something is being brought into this nothingness. The truth that we are learning about over here, and the actual truth is, like it says in the Torah, Breishis bar Elikim, which means Elikim is there before Breishis bar. Elikim is a reality that doesn't get created. The nothingness that precedes creation, that's Elikim. It's not nothingness. It's a divine truth. And when this divine truth wanted to create a world, it created a world. The greatest gift that the world can possibly get from this creator is a sense of what the creator himself is. This is the union that the super presence, the undefinable presence. When this undefinable presence gets recognized in the world, that's the greatest gift in mind. And the manner with which this is revealed, presented, is in the fact that the goof itself is a lakus. The goof itself is a fundamental reality, a divine reality. It's not a worldly reality, it's a divine reality. It is something that precedes creation.
What is that last piece? We went from the greatest gift
is a sense of what he is, and then how did we go from there to talk about the guf?
How does this truth present itself in our world to us? How will we be able to recognize this?
How are we able to have a sense of what he is?
No, what this fundamental truth is. Here's what my question is. Here's what it's about. The physical presence today does not beg for an explanation where it's coming from. This is a primary existence. This primary existence that is today represented by the physical presence, the guf, the bodily structure or content. Really, this is a divine presence. It's a miracle. The greatest miracle of all miracles. The whole concept of existence, especially existence of that caliber, that is true in itself, is a miracle. This miracle is a revelation, an expression of the divine into the world. Except that today, the miracle aspect of it is concealed. What we see is the world, the worldliness. And therefore the worldliness, we take for granted this is the beginning of all existence, and we're not questioning it. The truth is, however, that this worldly beginning of all existence itself is a divine creation. There is no such thing as a worldly existence, as a fundamental worldly existence. This is what the Torah says. Breishis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. The Shamayim Ha'aretz, which is so real to us, really is a divine creation. It's a divine creation, and it is a divine right of being, that a grant of right of being that allows it to be. The whole mitzvah of existence is a divine miracle. As I said, a divine right of being that is granted to the world, and that is why the world exists. And this right of being is given to the world in such an abundant manner that the world seems to be a real presence of its own. This reality of its presence is a divine gift to the world. Ultimately, this is what we're learning now. Ultimately, the greatest divine revelation that can be granted to the world is when the most worldly aspect of world, which is the basis of worldly structure, the physicality, the guf, when that guf, when the physicality will be recognized that really this is a divine gift. Not only a gift, it's a divine presence. It's divine, it's a miracle. this physical presence that we take for granted and we say is unquestionable is really a divine miracle. And this is what will be recognized in the future. When the truth will surface, we will be allowed and able to look in the truth. Then we will see the divine aspect of the physicality of the world itself. These are the words in the Maimer. I'm reading again the last two lines. AYIN, therefore, I'm not going to repeat what the therefore refers to. The Yisrael, the supreme gift of also the future, will be in the fact Mashahaguf Yelakus. It is with the body itself, the physicality will be Elakus. How does that come to be? Shazehu, which is accomplished alidei gilu b'chinus makim haklol. It comes as a result of the revelation, of the expression, of full recognition of the b'chin of God's makim haklol. Makim haklol means the distant makim, the makim that surrounds all existence before the beginning of existence, the way it is known to the Creator himself. The Creator's own knowledge of himself, this is what is going to come to be revealed in the Osset. Umagim lozer, this is reached. How can you possibly relate to this Makim HaKloli? This is a complete contradiction, nullification of world. There cannot be world if Makim HaKloli is begil. So how does it possible? How is it enabled that there should be the gil of the Makim HaKloli? Magim lozer, this is reached alidei bitul. When his alders are kelim davka. It is by the nullification, as a result of nullification and the unification, the kelim, the bodily aspects in the world, to unite with the Elokus. This is where this Makim HaKloli comes to surface. In our terms, it has been said before, the full cognizance and truly true cognizance, truly recognition, and truly seeing how the physical structure of the world is really divine. This is where you have the Gil Elokus, the real Gil Elokus. At that point, the whole time I'm thinking about that the world is a miracle, a divine miracle. It's a divine miracle when you look at it from a worldly perspective. But when you see it from the divine perspective, it's not a miracle. You see the truth itself. That is how it is going to reveal itself in the future. We're not going to be walking on, so to speak, on pins and needles. You know, it's a miracle. Is it real? It will be the reality itself. The divine presence will be as real to us then as the worldly presence is today to us. Okay.
And what will be then with the world?
The world will then have reached its highest perfection.
Will we still see it?
We will see it, but we will see it from a divine standpoint. It will not be a question, where is it coming from?
We'll still see trees?
We'll still see trees, and we'll see the sun and the moon, but all that we will see, just like we have to take it from our current life as some kind of emotion. You take a flashlight and you put it on and you focus it on an object. What is causing this object to be visible? Is it the flashlight, or is it you who are focusing it on the object? If somebody says, "Hey, why are you shining at my eyes?" You complain to the flashlight or to the hand that holds it. Hello?
He'll complain to the hand.
Okay.
And that holds
This is how the world will be seen then.
We will see the hand flashlight.
You will see the hand that holds the flashlight, and the hand is the divine command, divine presence, divine wish, will.
Right. Wow.
Does that mean that right now we're complaining for the flashlight?
Right now, be complaining about ourselves.
Like the sun is in my eye. Yeah.
I'm hungry. I'm tired. All right.
So we have another 7 minutes to go through the Kitzur.
The Kitzur. Okay, I think we should go to the Kitzur because we spent ample time getting there. Therefore, we should be able to learn the Kitzur in a proper way. Kitzur. Kitzur, this is the brief representation. What we have learned over the last 3 weeks, I think, of them, however. Again, the word omnom means in truth. In truth means looking at it from a truth angle rather than from a physical angle, from an experiential angle. A truth angle. What is the truth? We are able to see the truth. Why? Because we have a grant of seichel, we have an neshama. We're able to see look at things from a truth perspective. Mibechinas tehira yilo. From this bechina of tehira yilo, of the superior tehira purity. Who? That is the source. Sheyeshter habitul behakelim. This is where the koyach habitul comes to the kelim. The kelim have the inner beetle at the level that is affected by the Tehira law, not the source of the kelim, which is Tehira Tato, but the supreme Tehira. What is the Tehira law? Briefly, Tehira law means the Tehira, the purity as it is in its source, not as it manifests itself in the world. And that source level of purity will be recognized and affected in the kelim. Which is battle be'etzem behuso. As a result of that, the kelim will become bottled be'etzem behuso at the level of their very essence. They will become united with the Lakus. What is the etzem? When the kelim are bottled be'etzem behuso, what surfaces? The shoyresh hakelim hu meher makim. So the shoyresh hakelim, the root of the kelim, the power of kelim comes from the makim, and this is what will be revealed. Then the kelim, as kelim will be in his battle, and what will surface? The makim that they represent. Or makim means the oil which is higher than world. We are kelim. And for this reason, the seed as Haguv Davko, the rendering the giving over of the body, dafka, only that level of avodah, magia bebchinas atzmus ein sof, reaches up to the atzmus ein sof, to the essence of the ein sof. The essence of ein sof is not reachable with seichel amidis. The essence of ein sof can be reached with something that is also an essence, which is the body. And therefore, in the future, where as a result of the kav, Gilui will be bechinas hoigel hagodesh lifnei hakav. The kav will bring about the Gilui of the eagle hagodel, the great encirclement that precedes the kav. Not the source of the kav, but the kav ultimately will be instrumental to reveal that which is higher than the whole beginning of existence, of creation. Therefore, the truth of existence, the very truth of existence, which is the divine truth of existence, will be revealed then. Yivi haguv hagashmi, Elokus. Therefore, the guv hagashmi, the physical body, will be Elokus, will be divine, godliness. There's not going to be a gashmi. It will be godliness only. Godliness is what's going to present that. Yes, are you going to be able to see a tree? Be able to see everything you'll be seeing, but you see godliness. Who created the world? God created the world. Why did God create the world? Because the world is a gilui, is a representation of godliness. Did you ever wonder how can there be such a rich, multifaceted creation as world? The answer is it represents godliness. Leosid, this will become revealed, clear. What you're looking at is godliness, not just as you look at a human being today. Look at a human being today, you see his body, his hands, his feet, his eyes, his nose. A truly clear view of a human being. How do you think the Rebbe sees us? He sees the neshama. See what the human being is about. What does it mean I see? What does it mean I understand? What does it mean I feel? What does it mean why I live? All that is a godly presence. That is a minimal type of a presentation from our own experience, how things are going to be seen in every aspect. A tree is not an accident. A tree is not an invention of the world, an invention of the earth, of the seed. A tree is a divine concept.
Time check, 9 minutes to 9.
All right. Okay. I'm into time check. It belongs, the time now belongs to everybody else.
Maybe we should start the next ACE, because it's kind of hard to ask question about Atmos.
Well,
Earlier,
I don't know. Is that the consensus? Nobody
well,
has any comment?
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh,
Earlier in the shir, and then probably the final point we're coming around to is that existence is divine. So the level that's just here, the whole physical existence being.
one second. I have to correct it. Existence is a divine miracle. Divine is higher than existence.
Okay, good. Right. So why? Okay, good. So why does it seem so often that existence is cut off from the divine? Meaning, is that our perception problem, or did he? I mean, there is a great deal of obscurity. Seems like there's a lot of obscurity because you have the cold hard facts, and existence can sometimes be seemingly incredibly cruel.
Right. I understand your question. I hope everybody else does also. I'm sure everybody does, because this is a very obvious question here.
No, I don't understand it. And if you could explain it, since you do understand it, that would be helpful.
It seems like in Tanya right now, Epistle Igris Yud Aleph goes directly to this point and maybe is already giving the answer, right? That how can you imagine that anything is lacking, all of this? So
his question is very simple, Baruch. If existence is a divine miracle, as we have just now explained, why is it that we see existence as worldly? Purely worldly. To the point where recognizing the divine in existence is a whole revolution. That is his question. And it is really a universal question. The answer to that is very important. The answer to that is, it is quite sensitive and quite subtle. And I hope I can bring it out correctly, and I hope that we pay attention very carefully. The Rebbe created a world, mentioned many times. The Rebbe does not create half-mast creatures. Creatures that do not represent a true presence. When a person holds a kite and the kite is flying, and he's holding it down with a string, this is a human creation of a kite. The kite is not flying because a human being holds it on a string. The kite is held up because of the wind, and the human being is hardly able to hold on to it, and so forth. The Rebbe created the sun, and the sun is flying up in the space on its own. It belongs there, and it stays there quite solidly. There is not a string connected to the sun holding it down in connection to the earth. Rebbe creates things in full reality. Why? There's two questions here. First, I want to ask why. The answer is because the Rebbe wants to give the world his truth. He wants us to recognize and to experience his truth. Not just a worldly truth, but a divine truth. That makes it a challenge because we may lose sight of where it's coming from, what it's about. That is the challenge that the Rebbe left to us. And that's what he gave us a Torah.
So this point right now.
One second. That's why he gave us a Torah, where he tells us what it's about. He didn't leave us groping in the dark and finding out what it's about. He gave us a Torah. Without the Torah, we would not know to understand what world is about, where the world comes from. That's why he gave us a Torah. A Torah is not only telling us where the world comes from, but tells us how we're supposed to live in the world. Without that, yes, indeed, we would be groping in the dark and being led by the worldly observation rather than understanding the divine presence in the world. This is what the whole world is following. What they observe in the world. Us, by the merit of our forefathers, so we merited a divine guideline to know what the world is about. To recognize the divine truth in the world. Okay, Shlomi, now you can.
So I'm hearing, it seems like two phases, sort of obscuring and then revealing. And if I understood the first part, for things to be real, there has to be no strings attached. It cannot be puppets on a string. It has to be actual sort of like separate existence, right? And that's for the sake of making it real. And then that creates the problem of isolation, I guess, a world completely cut off. And then came the second part, which had to do with Torah, right?
Well, that's the way you put it. It's not my words, but you have the option to speak of it the way you see it. The truth is, I will venture to say, I just want to interrupt for a second. You're not saying your own words. You're saying the words that you read in science books. If you use your own words and think to it in your own seichel, you probably would present it differently. Okay,
okay, but it did still seem like step one, a reality gets created where man is adrift. Well, not necessarily. That wasn't step one.
Adrift? Yeah, what you said, adrift? No, not adrift.
Well, you said, that's what I was trying to get to, because it seemed like by the second stage, when you talked about Matan Torah, so that allows connection back to the maker. But without that, you'd kind of be, where on earth are we?
Okay, so to put it correctly, it's like this. He's not adrift. He's in a solid world, but he can't make sense of it. Where does such a real world get its reality from? The world didn't create itself. Its reality defies a natural process. Abraham Avinu, that's what the Gemara said. Abraham Avinu is walking around the world. And he was observing what's going on. he with his clear, pure mind said, where is the Balabayas? Where's Balabayas of this edifice? How did he know there was a Balabayas in this edifice? Because ain't dira blei manhig. For this, you have to have a pure, clear view of seichel. If there is a dira, there's a manhig.
Right. So he already saw that existence per se was connected to the creator.
So the whole world saw that also. Except he, with his pure mind, he says, I'm not satisfied in sitting the dira. I want to meet up with the manhig.
Right.
I want to know what the manhig had in mind when he created the dira, not what I understand and I see the dira. The dira is a beautiful dira, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
I want to know the dira
right.
from the manhig's perspective.
And
Why
you
did
say,
he create?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're saying Avram Avinu's insight is a basic human insight that all of existence is divine. Is that correct?
I don't know exactly how you mean, but it's correct, yes.
Okay. So then it does come around to, if we imagine that there's just the cold facts and that nature is cruel or any of these kind of perspectives, it's just a problem of our perception, because existence is always tied up with the maker and never just here.
That is correct. And there's one more notch that should be added here. This erroneous perception, please listen to this. This erroneous perception is not the fault of our Creator. He created us and left us in the blind. We don't know what's going on. That is not what this erroneous perception is based on. This erroneous perception is of our own choosing.
Okay.
One second, where is the choice come from? The choice comes from our tendency and wish to become independent.
It's true.
To be myself.
Okay. Right. Okay. So basically, he's there's no obscurity from his side. It's only our lack of perception or stupidity, and that ties in with
One second. Lack of consent of recognizing our benefactor.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Like a sort of ingratitude, basically.
That's right.
And that's what Tanya's getting at right this week, right? These last 2 days seem to have a lot to do with this problem.
I have to think about it. I mean, I'm not.
Oh, that could you imagine that you've suffered this epistle, Igris Yud Aleph. Anyway, okay,
All right.
fine.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, can we go on with the kitzur? What do we have?
We did the kitzur. We did the kitzur already.
Oh, yeah, Gashmi Elkos. Yes, that's right. We did the kitzur. The Osir Lovely, the Guf Gashmi will be Elokus. And as we translated, the word Elokus here does not mean divine, but means divinity. Divine means there's a worldly presence that has a divine quality to it. But Elokus means the divinity. The truth of existence is really a God, not anything, not world. The inventor, as we said, of existence is God, not world. And this is what is going to surface the Osidlovi. And this is the truth with which we are going to relate to and live. And experience the Osidlovi. Where the very physicality of the world will be actually revealing to us the godly truth. Again, to give us a kind of a premonition, a perception that we can project from our standpoint today. When you are in somebody's home and you see a dinner at the table, you don't see the dinner, you see your host expressed to the dinner. This is a means for us to project the world as we see it. We see a world, but we, with our intelligence and with our fine qualities of our neshama, are able to relate to the creator of the world rather than to the world as we see it with our flesh eyes. This is why before we take a morsel of food, we thank the creator for presenting it to us. Not only for creating the world, but for creating and giving us an edible piece of food that we can benefit from. Our experience of eating a morsel of food really should be, like a mother feeding a baby. And the Rebbe is taking the apple and presenting it to us. Here, this is for you. This is our experience, the truth of our experience in the world. This is why we are constantly thanking God for all of our experiences. This is not a matter of speech. This is reality. When the sun rises every morning, the sun doesn't rise. The sun is brought forth. This is why every day in the morning, we start all over again and thank God for all the experiences that we had. It's not a natural process. Every bracha that we make in the morning is a valid bracha, not a matter of speech, but a valid bracha. The Rebbe says that one of the very serious transgressions is make a bracha levatol. If we do not recognize Baruch Atah Hashem Pekiach Hibri, Baruch Atah Hashem Mater Hasuri, Baruch Atah Hashem Mizek Kufin, we are doing a bracha levatol. This is not child's play. This is serious stuff. The reason we can make a bracha is that, in fact, that is exactly what happens. This is all of the divine effect at this moment. And this is where our avoiding is, to reflect on this reality. This is why the Chachamim have established these brachas, to alert us to what is going on around us. What world are we functioning in? That will bring a different life force, different significance to our lives. Not living in a, what's called an inanimate world. We're living with life itself. All right. Learn, in conclusion of this whole discussion, that the ultimate Gilui Elokus in the world, which is the ultimate truth of the world, is that the world is not just a divine creation, but it's actually a divine presence. As we said, presence itself is a divine truth. No such thing as presence or existence, but for divine. Bereshit bara Elokim is the Shemayim V'Zoretz. The meaning that bara Elokim is the Shemayim V'Zoretz, that Hashem created the Shemayim V'Zoretz, is not that he created the design of the Shemayim V'Zoretz. He created the whole phenomenon of existence. That's why it's called Bria. Bria means creation, miyash miyayin. Not design, not definition, but actual presence. Again, I don't know if that should go on. People are still sitting quite complacently.
I, for one, have enough to digest, so I'm just listening.
All right? In
You
absence of anything
you
else, might as well go for it or someone give.
Okay, you decide.
I decide I'm waiting to see what.
We are here listening to you. You want to go on? We can proceed.
Wow.
How can we
Okay.
how can we do how can we go to Samach Gimel if we're doing AYIN base?
That's right. Good question. We go back. Behine. Again, the word behine means behold. And we already discussed this, the inference of the word behine. Behold. And the inference is that what we are going to be saying after the behine is something that is quite obvious, but you would not think of it without me telling you. But when I tell it to you, you will see it as something behine, behold. Not only I don't have to prove it to you, convince you of it. All I have to do is present it, and you will recognize it's true. That's a behine. So now we ask a question. Is this really so? We have to labor so hard to understand what is being said. How do you say behine? The answer is, the reason you have to labor hard is because your mind is affected by the worldly thought process. And you think that you have to understand something, you have to understand it on the basis of worldly thought process. Not true. You really have an neshama level of understanding. That is who you really are. And from that perspective, behine, you can actually recognize it and see it right away as I am presenting it to you. As a matter of fact, I'm presenting it to you only because I know that you have that level of intelligence, that neshama. If I had any doubt, I would not present it to you. This is why I'm starting with what behine. You see it together with me. Both madregas of Tehira Yilo and Tehira Tato, which we discussed in the previous section. The word Tehira we explained originally. Tehira means the purity. Purity means that which comes directly from the source, effortlessly, without having to be reinterpreted. You see the way it is in its truth. That's a Tehira. That's a purity. The motion for that, as we always did, is light, particularly sunlight. Light does not come through any kind of a process. Sound has to reach your ear and so forth. But light, sight, is you see it the way it is in its source, in its purity. That's why there is no greater conviction, no greater recognition of truth than through sight. Because sight means I see directly the inyan, without any process, without any proofs, neither proofs. Behind behold. Behold means see it, recognize it from a sight level. These two madrigas that we discussed thus far, previously, of the Hiro Yilo and Hiro Tato, of the higher divine presence, the way divine presence is internal to itself. With Hiro Tato and the divine presence as it manifests down below to the world. Both instances are called Tehiro, purity. What does purity imply, that we said already? Purity means that it's recognized directly at its source without any kelim, without a means of relating. You see it the way it is in its source. What's meant to hear?
The difference between Tire Lu and Tire Tetua, if there's no, if you see it in the source directly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yes. If you see it in the source directly, so how is there a difference between Tire Lu and Tire Tetua?
Yeah, yes, we learned that. In the source itself, there is the way Elokus has it internal to Elokus, when the Elokus recognizes world. Tadira Tato. We have to understand world is not an accident. World is not a second thought. World is a divine creation. The Rebbe wants to create the world. He wants that he should be known at the worldly level. Because he wants to give of himself to that level of creation which is called worldly. They should also benefit and recognize it. He wants to bring it himself down to a worldly level. Thus, world itself is conceptualized in the divine thought process. World is not an afterthought, an accident, because the world couldn't understand it, so it became worldly. This is why the Torah says, "Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz." Who invented Shamayim v'ha'aretz? The Rebbe invented Shamayim v'ha'aretz. Because the Rebbe is giving to his creations, to his creatures, to the human being, the truth of his own being, of his own presence. And he's giving it, so to speak, lavishly, including the makifim, everything. So therefore, behold. Behold means, please understand the truth of this, the simple truth of it. Both madrigas, the Tiri, the way the world is known within the divine truth. And the way that divine truth is expressed down towards world. In both instances, it is called Tehiro. It is a direct and a pure flow from Elokus. Elokus has the higher level clearly, and has also relates to the lower level. The world is not a worldly creation, it's a divine creation. The world has a divine level of presence, of reality.
The Tehira Elua has some shaykhs with world.
What?
It sounds that Tehira Elua has some kind of shaykhs to world also. It's not
That's
just
right. This is how the world is in its source. In
That's
Elokus.
Tata. That's Tir Tata.
No. Titato is as it is defined to going towards the world, being expressed to the world. But that the concept of world pre-exists the creation of the world. The Rebbe still wants the world.
even
Tir
in
Elua.
Tehira Elua.
Even Tehillah law, the most for this is, listen to this, as simple as it is. You have children with neighbors and health. You love your children to pieces. Before the children were born, did you want children? Of course. And you loved them before they were born. Why? They're not there yet. Because you want them. This is the Tehillah law.
The Rebbe says in the beginning of the last days that Tir Elua has no shaykhs to Elumes. It's makif, it's makif, but it has no shaykhs.
Okay, so how do you understand that? It's makif, but it has no shaykhs.
Okay.
Has no shaykhs. That is something which it's true. We didn't delve into it properly. It's makif, but it has no shaykhs. It has no shaykhs. So how is it a makif?
Okay.
Has no shaykhs means it has no worldly quality to it, but it's giving it a higher than worldly effect.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you love your children before the children are born. This is a completely different concept. Let's finish this first line and then I guess we'll have to call it quits for the day. Beis hamadrega de Tir lo Tir Tato, hein bechinas makifim klolim lo elomis. Both of these madrigas, Tir lo and Tir Tato, are in the category of makifim, of makif. What kind of makif? Makif kloli. Makif kloli means an all-encompassing makif. A makif that does not identify with the structure of the world. Rather, it identifies with the general concept of creation, of world. Called makifim kloli. All right, the discussion of this we'll have to leave over for the next day. So now we'll have to call it a day. We have plenty to reflect on before we open the next day in Mitzvah. Have a great day, everyone.
Good
Thank you,
Shabbos.
Paltiel. Thank you,
Good
Paltiel.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos today.
Have a good Shabbos.
Hey, Bubu
A
coming.
good Shabbos, a good year. Yeah, come to.
Oh,
Who are you?
oh,
Yosef,
look
Yosef,
at
what
this.
was his name?
It's so
Shleiman?
cute.
Yosef, no, that's name. Yosef, what's his name?
Okay.
What's his name?
Yosef Yitzchok. No, not here. What's his name?
1 second.
Sorry, you guys saying?
What's his name?
Oh, Aryeh Mendel.
Aryeh Mendel, oh boy.
Aryeh
Yeah,
Mendel.
Aryeh Mendel, Aryeh Mendel. Okay,
Wow.
Aryeh Mendel. You're a big boy, can I hear?
He's
Yeah,
really
he wants to come
cute.
this year. Baruch Hashem.
Go.
Okay, not of Simchis.
Oh,
man.
man, call to.
Shabbos.
Koya.
Good job, good job.
Say bye-bye, Aryeh. Bye-bye.
Hi, baby.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Okay. Aryeh Mendel.
I don't have a place to park here.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Call to. Okay. Mm.